She raised him through fame and fortune. Now she's breaking him in court. Today, we dive into the emotional courtroom moment when Diddy's own mother took the stand, and what she said left not just her son, but the entire room stunned. Imagine hearing your mother testify against you. What would cut deeper, her words or her silence? Comment below. He was always in the background, never one for the spotlight. While Diddy built a media empire, his mother stayed quietly in the shadows. She raised him, protected him, and watched his rise from Harlem to Hollywood. That's exactly why her sudden appearance in court shocked everyone. She wasn't forced, she volunteered. In legal terms, that's a bombshell. When a parent testifies against their own child without a subpoena, it signals something deeply personal, not strategic, not manipulated, just raw, emotional truth. And in a trial packed with hard evidence and celebrity witnesses, her voice suddenly became the most powerful one in the room. She wasn't trying to convict him. She was trying to cleanse herself. And for a man who spent his life controlling narratives, this was the one story he couldn't spin. Sometimes, the quietest voice can cause the loudest collapse. The energy shifted the moment she appeared. Courtrooms are used to tension, but this was different. The sound of her shoes on the polished floor echoed louder than any gavel. Heads turned. Lawyers stiffened. Even the judge adjusted his posture. He entered slowly. No makeup, no press-ready look. Just a mother stepping into the eye of the storm. Diddy never looked at her. Not once. Eyewitnesses say he clenched his jaw, his fingers interlocked tight, his stare locked on the table. His mother, the woman who once stood in the front row of his concerts, now walked to the witness stand alone. She wasn't there to protect him. Not this time. Her silence over the years had built a wall. But today, brick by brick, she was tearing it down. Not to destroy him, but to finally free herself. Her entrance said what 100 witnesses never could. Long before courtrooms and controversies, it was just the two of them, mother and son, in a cramped Harlem apartment. He worked long hours as a teacher's aide. He scribbled rhymes in a worn notebook, eyes filled with dreams. Their bond was ironclad. She was at every school play, every church recital. She made sure he never forgot where he came from. When his first record dropped, she was front row. But over time, as the millions rolled in and entourages grew, distance formed. First emotional, then physical. Calls became brief, visits rare. Fame became a wall. And behind it, pain quietly festered. Her decision to testify didn't come out of bitterness. It came from a wound that never healed. The higher he rose, the further he drifted from the one who built him. The public only saw the headlines, the glamorous life. But behind closed doors, Diddy's world was layered with secrets and silence. Whispers of control issues, power struggles within his circle, and family members pushed out of view. His mother, once his foundation, became a background figure. She was there, but always just off stage. Insiders say she witnessed things no mother should. Alleged threats, manipulation, late-night arguments that never made it to TMZ. She stayed silent for years. But silence doesn't mean peace. It means pressure. And pressure builds. By the time she stepped into that courtroom, she wasn't there as a celebrity's mom. She was there as a woman done hiding. Not everything hidden is buried. Some truths just wait for the right moment. The courtroom transcript reads more like a mother's confession than testimony. Her voice trembled, but she spoke with intent. "I'm not here to destroy my son," she said quietly, "but I can't carry this anymore." She didn't lay out accusations, she told stories. Of nights she lost sleep, of choices she regrets. There were signs. "I saw things I didn't want to believe." She mentioned feeling complicit through her silence, through years of turning away. When she finally said his name, Sean, the room fell completely still. It wasn't spoken with anger. It was spoken with sorrow. One juror reportedly looked down, visibly shaken. Another wiped away a tear. Sometimes the softest voice delivers the heaviest blow. Diddy didn't flinch, but he didn't lift his head either. His hands were locked tightly, jaw clenched, eyes unmoving from the table in front of him. For a man who built an empire by owning every room he entered, he now looked like he wanted to disappear. Observers say he sat motionless, not even blinking for long stretches. When his mother spoke, he didn't interrupt, didn't whisper to his attorney, didn't shake his head. Just silence. Pure, heavy silence. One journalist noted, "He looked like someone who had rehearsed for this moment and still wasn't ready." His usual confidence was gone. There was no glare, no defiance, just stillness, like he was carrying the weight of a life finally catching up to him. Even his security team seemed unsure whether to console or protect. Sometimes the moment you fear most doesn't scream. It arrives quietly. When a parent testifies willingly, it breaks the rhythm of courtroom strategy. Legal experts call it a wildcard moment. Uncoached, emotionally raw, deeply persuasive. Diddy's mother didn't come armed with legal jargon. She came with memories and grief. Trial consultant Jenna Watts noted, "Jurors lean in when testimony feels unrehearsed. They remember how it made them feel, not just what was said." Her restrained sorrow worked in the prosecution's favor more than any cross-examination ever could. The defense walked a fine line. If they pushed too hard, they risked appearing cruel. If they backed off, her words stood uncontested. Either way, the damage was done. Her authenticity couldn't be picked apart. A parent's pain, when it's real, has the power to tilt an entire trial. Not everything she said held weight, but what she didn't say echoed even louder. When asked about specific events tied to the allegations, Diddy's mother grew quiet. Her hands tightened. Her lawyer objected. The judge allowed her to decline answering on grounds of emotional distress. That silence, though legally protected, shifted the tone. It wasn't denial. It wasn't confirmation. It was something in between, enough to raise suspicion without saying a word. Legal analysts say jurors often assign meaning to pauses, and in this case, the absence of answers created space for imagination, doubt, and fear. She answered what she could, but the questions she left hanging, they spoke volumes. In court, silence isn't emptiness. It's strategy wrapped in heartbreak. Her words didn't directly accuse, but they shifted the entire courtroom narrative. Prosecutors weren't looking for hard proof from her. They were looking for tone, for weight, for emotional credibility, and they got it. Legal experts say jurors process emotional testimony differently. It lingers. They may forget dates or timelines, but they don't forget a mother's trembling voice. Her statements, paired with her visible pain, offered a powerful reinforcement of the prosecution's broader theory, that even those closest to Diddy no longer stood with him. Defense attorneys now face a harder task. They're not just arguing law, they're arguing against a parent's moral compass. That's a difficult opponent. Once trust is broken inside the family, a courtroom has little left to protect. If you've made it this far, you're clearly following this story closely. What's your take? Do you think Diddy's mother is speaking out of guilt or out of justice? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we read them all. And if you want deeper dives into courtroom moments like this, don't forget to subscribe. There's more coming. Stories that challenge what we think we know. The moment her testimony ended, the story exploded. Headlines blared phrases like "Mother turns on mogul" and "Maternal bombshell rocks trial." Social media flooded with opinions. Some praised her courage. Others questioned her timing. Hashtags trended within the hour. Every clip of her walking to the stand, every still image of her seated with folded hands, went viral. News panels debated whether her statements were sincere or calculated, but one truth was inescapable. This trial had shifted into emotional territory. It wasn't just about business deals or past lawsuits anymore. It was about family, loyalty, and the cost of silence. The public wasn't just watching, they were choosing sides. In today's world, justice isn't just decided in court. It's judged online. Insiders say the energy around Diddy changed immediately after his mother's appearance. Associates became quieter, lawyers more cautious, and even longtime collaborators began creating distance. No press statements were issued, no rebuttals made. For a brand built on bravado and control, the silence was louder than any denial. One source close to the case revealed that internal meetings turned tense. He didn't say much, just sat there. It felt like the walls were closing in, they said. Behind closed doors, damage control likely began, contracts reviewed, reputations measured, backup plans quietly formed. When a mother's voice shakes the image of a cultural icon, even those loyal start reconsidering their position. It only takes one fracture in the armor to make everything else fall apart. Some observers noticed something unsettling. This wasn't the first time someone close to Diddy stepped back or spoke out. Former collaborators, past associates, even old friends have occasionally hinted at control, fear, or silence, but they never stayed in the spotlight long. Statements retracted, stories faded. His mother's testimony felt different. It couldn't be bought, silenced, or edited. And for many watching, it validated years of rumors that once seemed exaggerated. One media analyst remarked, "Her words didn't just affect this trial, they reframed his entire legacy. If others were waiting for a sign, they may have just gotten it, because once the first domino falls, the rest follow quickly." One voice can shift public memory faster than 100 headlines. Legal battles are brutal, but emotional ones are worse. And those close to Diddy say this is the most withdrawn he's ever been. No red carpet sightings, no cryptic tweets, just silence. People who once called him unstoppable now wonder if the pressure is finally catching up. One former business partner admitted, "He's built for conflict, but not this kind. Can't outproduce family." There's no studio fix, no PR spin that can erase a mother's testimony. And the internal weight, the guilt, the betrayal, the exposure, doesn't fade when the cameras turn off. Even if he walks free, the image that once made him untouchable has changed forever. The toughest blows don't come from enemies, they come from home. While the world debated Diddy's guilt, some turned their attention to his mother and wondered about hers. Was her testimony an act of justice or redemption? In quiet interviews over the years, she hinted at regret, about not speaking up, about protecting too much, about raising a son who may have crossed lines she never intended him to. Psychologists note that when parents testify, it often reflects an internal reckoning. They're not just confronting the accused, they're confronting themselves. One close friend said, "She didn't just testify against him, she was confessing her own silence." That's the paradox. Her words may help convict him, but they also reveal how pain is passed from one generation to the next. When a mother breaks down in court, the whole family history is on trial. At first, reactions were mixed. Some praised her strength, others accused her of betrayal. But over the following days, public opinion began to shift, slowly but clearly. Polls showed growing empathy toward her. Comment sections, once filled with outrage, started reading more like confessions. People related to her, the parent torn between love and truth, the woman forced to choose justice over loyalty. Even talk shows that initially criticized her retracted statement. Cultural commentators began labeling her as a reluctant whistleblower, not a traitor. Her pain had become relatable. That relatability changed everything, not just for Diddy, but for how his legacy would be remembered. In the court of public opinion, sincerity speaks louder than strategy. Hollywood doesn't respond to morality, it responds to risk. And after his mother's testimony, Diddy's name became radioactive. Industry insiders say meetings were canceled, deals paused, brand partnerships reevaluated. One executive privately admitted, "It's not about what he did, it's about how bad it looks now." Reputation is currency, and his just took a nosedive. Even those who stood by him in the past started distancing themselves. Subtle unfollows, public silence, vague PR statement. The message was clear. Loyalty had limits, and his mother's testimony crossed the line where support became liability. In a world where perception drives business, one emotional courtroom scene had real-world consequences. In entertainment, silence isn't support, it's self-preservation. For Diddy, the path ahead now splits in two directions: redemption or ruin. If the trial ends in his favor, there's still the court of public perception to face. And if it doesn't, the fall will be steep. But beyond verdicts and sentences, there's something deeper at stake: legacy. Can a man known for empire building recover after being publicly undone by the one person who knew him best? Some say yes, others say no. Reputation is a fragile thing, and once cracked, it rarely returns to its original shape. His silence since the testimony suggests he knows this. There's no album, no press tour, no charity gala that can undo what's already been said, especially when it comes from your own blood. The greatest collapse isn't legal, it's personal. The trial continues, but the tone has shifted. Prosecutors feel emboldened. The defense seems rattled. And in the background, media outlets dig deeper, looking for others who might follow the same path his mother did. Former staff, ex-partners, estranged collaborators. A pattern might emerge, or it might not. But one thing is certain: her testimony opened a door that won't be easily closed. Some say the worst is over. Others believe the most damaging revelations are still ahead. What happens next isn't just about courtroom tactics. It's about who speaks up next and who stays silent. The ripple effect has only just begun. When one person breaks their silence, others often find their voice. This trial isn't just about one man's fate, it's about how we define power, loyalty, and accountability. Diddy's brand was built on resilience, dominance, and relentless ambition, but now it's being redefined in real time. Every soundbite, every courtroom photo, every tear from his mother reshapes how he'll be remembered. Is he a fallen icon? A misunderstood mogul? Cautionary tale? That verdict will be decided not only by the court, but by culture. Years from now, people may not remember the exact charges, but they'll remember the moment his mother spoke. That's how legacy works. It's not built on success alone. It's built on how your story ends. Reputation echoes longer than any verdict. In the end, this trial became about more than guilt or innocence. It became about legacy, truth, and what happens when silence can no longer be maintained. Diddy's mother didn't testify to make headlines. She testified because something inside her wouldn't stay quiet anymore. And that decision didn't just shift a case, it shifted a culture. Her voice reminded us that behind every icon is a family, behind every empire is history, and behind every courtroom is a human story. Whether Diddy is convicted or cleared, the impact of her words will echo for years. This wasn't just a legal event, it was a generational reckoning. And now, Everyone is watching what comes next, because when the one who raised you takes the stand, the world listens. This content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or professional advice. Always consult a qualified expert or attorney regarding any legal matters or personal decisions.